Hey, thanks for coming back and watching another one of my videos on anxiety. This is, I believe, part 4, and there'll probably be a couple more after this, but um, yeah, I'm gonna get right into the material. So, hey, family, another day on the right side of the dirt, another day to get better. All right, so we kind of hopefully by now have a little bit of an idea of what anxiety is, and that it's just a normal reaction of our body when we feel threatened or in danger. And I guess that would all come from how we see things. So the whole point here is being able to change the way we see certain areas of our life so that we can change it. And I'm just sharing some information, exposing you to the information that I was exposed to. And then hopefully it'll help some people. All right, so we left off at thinking process change in anxiety 2. When persons are anxious, their minds are more likely to focus on dangerous and threatening situations. It becomes more difficult to think purely about neutral and positive information which is available. In addition, events which are not clearly either safe or harmful are more likely to be interpreted by the mind as dangerous. So, events which are not clearly either safe or harmful are more likely to be interpreted by the mind as dangerous. This makes sense if the purpose of anxiety is considered. Anxiety is meant to help preserve the individual in dangerous situations. When faced with an ambiguous situation, is this a stick or a snake? Is this harmful or not harmful? Which interpretation is most likely to get the individual killed? Mistaking a dangerous animal for a non-dangerous one. Once the brain decides that a dangerous situation may be present and a state of anxiety is created, it quits being objective. And I've shared the definition for objective a couple of times, and that is strictly facts, concrete facts, no opinions, no assumptions. It is willing to make a mistake on the side of caution. However, once anxiety becomes chronic and continues a particular danger, the usefulness of this mechanism is lost. Now everything seems to be dangerous, and the person begins to avoid too many situations. So once again, this is Coping with Anxiety and Worry, a personal guide to coping. I mentioned in the last video who this article or handout was written by, and I got it in a inpatient treatment program that I was in. All right, understand how anxiety and worry affect your ability to perform. While anxiety is designed to help the individual survive, it can be self-defeating when it depletes psychological stamina and resources. Worrying often causes persons to freeze and to become passive rather than directing energy towards resolving their problems. Many individuals have some type of performance anxiety. Their nervousness gets in the way of something they need to do or want to do in front of other people. Small amounts of anxiety can help a person get psyched up to do something. As physical and psychological arousal increases, at first energy levels can be raised and concentration can be sharpened. These in turn increase a person's ability to perform. But the increase in performance as anxiety increases only works up to a point. After that, there begins to be a decrease in effectiveness. Once the anxiety is too high, persons will actually need to lower their nervousness. In a performance situation, it is important to remember that the goal is not to maximize drive and anxiety, that is, pushing oneself harder and harder, but to maximize performance. Performance and anxiety often correspond according to what is called an upside-down U-shaped curve. As anxiety first starts to increase, the performance increases. However, as anxiety continues to go up, a person may start to become panicked. Thinking processes may become fuzzy or stop entirely. Many individuals have had this experience on a test. One student, for example, studied intensively for a major exam. He studied hours on end and throughout the entire night before the test. In his mind, it was extremely important, but when he walked in to take the test, his mind went blank. He was just too anxious to be able to perform. The idea that one can do better by driving oneself less is difficult for some persons to understand. How they may have learned to put extra pressure on themselves to heighten their performance. However, this strategy of pushing oneself harder and building up the importance of the task in one's mind can eventually backfire. If a person is coming into therapy with performance anxiety, then usually one of two things has happened. Either they have driven themselves to new heights of anxiety, or their tolerance for anxiety has decreased, so that what used to produce optimal performance is now excessive. For this reason, sometimes the best way to perform better is to play down the importance of the situation. Got a few frequently asked questions in here. So, isn't it better to worry about something and be prepared for it rather than being caught off guard? Some people feel that it is better not to be blindsided by situations, and for this reason, they will worry almost constantly. However, the problem with this strategy is that constant negative thinking produces anxiety and depression. Constant negative thinking produces anxiety and depression. There is even some evidence that persistent worry somehow brings about real-life negative events, and thus becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. What about using anti-anxiety medications for my nervousness? Mental health professionals have a variety of opinions about this issue. For many severely anxious individuals, the use of anti-anxiety medications may be extremely important for a short while, since psychological techniques may not work immediately, or they may not work sufficiently themselves. Using medications for depression and anxiety. Several of the anti-anxiety medications have to be used cautiously because of their potential to cause addiction. The use of anti-anxiety medications needs to be temporary if possible. Most individuals can eventually handle their anxiety using psychological means alone. Can a person inherit nervousness? There is some evidence that anxiety disorders can be inherited. What is less clear is whether specific anxiety disorders are inherited or whether it is simply the tendency towards excessive anxiety that is passed on between generations. This is called Points to Ponder. If worry and negative thinking make us feel bad, why do we continue to do them? That's a good question. If worry and negative thinking make us feel bad, why do we continue to do them? Kind of what this is all about. Why do we continue to do behaviors that we don't want to do? Continue to do behaviors, think in certain ways that are negative that have negative consequences in our life, that do not get us where we're trying to get to. But we don't touch a hot iron or a hot stove because we know what it is like to be burned and feel the resultant pain. But we will continue to worry and to bombard ourselves with negative thoughts until we are very anxious. What is the difference between these two situations? Coping with anxiety. Now that you understand some basic concepts about anxiety, the next question is what to do about it. Here are some basic steps in coping with this problem. 1. Normalize your anxiety and learn about it. Right? So if you're having anxiety, this is my 4th video. There will be a couple more just explaining what anxiety is and reading some information about anxiety, which you can do the same by going online and searching for it or searching other videos. Doesn't really matter to me where you get the information. I'm just sharing it, just doing my part. Okay. Normalize your anxiety and learn about it. It is important to overcome any feelings of shame, inadequacy, or guilt that you are experiencing because of anxiety. An anxiety disorder is not a moral weakness. It simply means that a process in your brain is too strong or has gotten out of hand. It may be due to being under excessive stress. I got coping with stress and some other stuff coming up too. The stress is a big cause. Or it may be that you have inherited some tendency from your parents for high levels of anxiety. It may indicate that you need to learn some additional ways of coping, but it is not something of which to be ashamed. It is just a problem, and like any other problem, it needs to be addressed. Everything in this handout so far has been designed to help you learn about the nature of anxiety and to put its symptoms into the framework of being relatively normal bodily responses. Every time a person learns more about anxiety, it becomes less and less a mysterious mental problem and more just a problem. This can make the difference as to whether you overcome it or whether it continues to terrify you. Most individuals would not make a big issue out of having a flat tire. It is neither mystical nor a big deal. A problem with your car engine might be a rather large issue and it might be a little mystifying to you, but most people don't feel that there is anything stigmatizing about it. It is still just a problem. In the same way, everything in this handout thus far has been designed to help translate anxiety into just another problem. This is the first step in coping. All right, that's a little bit more on anxiety for this video. We'll get into how to intercept it early in the next video, but for now I'm going to get into my journal entry for this video, and it looks like we are on the 19th, October 19th of 2011. What was negative and what was positive and what was negative about today? The positive about today is that I finished one module of the vocational course I am doing in electricity and electronics. Today, negative was I didn't work crew as scheduled, and also CTRT was canceled. So work crew, I didn't get to go out and go on work crew as scheduled, and also our criminal thinking, rational thinking class was canceled. What were the main feelings I experienced today? I felt responsible and capable because I set out to complete a vocational course, and I completed a step toward that goal today. Small steps towards big goals. What helped me make it through the day? I felt good from my accomplishment today, so I spent some time writing out some goals and the steps to accomplish them. And that was acknowledged by the sergeant. I had to write "yes, sir" next to his initials so that he seen that I noticed he acknowledged it. What did I learn today? I learned that if I endure adversity, I can actually feel good about myself afterward and learn something, even if it takes a while or isn't that enjoyable. All right. Well, guys, thanks for coming and taking some time out of your day to listen to me talk about anxiety and share my journal entry. This is basically all about how our mind has grasped onto certain ways of seeing things, like a mental filter, or a mental program that we see things through, and it's all automatic, and we're like on autopilot. But we can change things, and it's just to slow down and catch our thoughts, look at them like they're clouds passing in the sky, question them. Where'd the thoughts come from? Are they true? Is this getting me to where, am I getting out of these thoughts what I want in life? Challenging our thoughts, being more aware of how we see things. And it's going to take repetition, repeatedly memorizing stuff and reprogramming ourselves to see things differently. Excuse me. But yeah, thanks for checking out my video. Keep pushing forward. Never give up. Just because we've lived a certain way for so long doesn't mean we have to keep living that way. Thanks, guys. See you next time.